Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome to a sort of review video on World of Tanks. So a few people have requested this for me to actually take a look at this game. I actually used to play World of Tanks an awful lot back in the day, and probably stopped around sort of late 2016, around the time the Swedish heavies came out. I got up to the tier 9 mill, and that was about the end of my World of Tanks playing. I've had something like 17,000 battles, something like that, yeah. And over the years, I put lots of money into this game, kind of got really drawn into all the premium vehicles and everything. But then, yeah, say in 2016, I stopped playing, and I haven't really touched it for about 2 years. But then I thought it'd be kind of interesting to come back, see what's changed. Is World of Tanks worth returning to in 2018, or is it worth getting started if you're a new player to the game? So overall, my first impressions, I've had a handful of battles now, have been that it's still quite fun. I have actually enjoyed playing it. But at the same time, I still think it largely has the same sort of problems and attitudes that it had before. Particularly kind of, initially you just get bombarded with the amount of stuff you're supposed to open, accessories you can buy, things they're trying to sell you. You know, in the background, it's the tank of the day that they've got on the advent calendar that you can buy. You know, discounts here. They've got a Christmas tree you can put decorations on, but if you don't get enough, you have to buy more. So you can purchase them in the shop. So it's kind of pretty in your face about all the extra things you need to buy if you want to be able to do well in this game, and that's kind of still kind of the attitude they had from 2016. So I think that's kind of a bit of a shame that that hasn't changed. But gameplay-wise, it's still pretty enjoyable. So let's hop into a little bit of a battle and see if we can have some fun shooting some of the tanks. So we're loading into one of the battles I had in this little T40 Skoda Tier 6 Czechoslovakian medium tank. So yeah, so far in the games I've had, I must say I have found the game to be quite good fun. I do kind of remember what it was that got me addicted to World of Tanks in the first place, and that element of the game is still there. It's kind of hard to pin down what exactly it is that led into that sort of generates this fun, but the battles are really quite good fun. Although it is worth pointing out, this is one of the very few games I had where I got decent matchmaking. It seems now that so many people have got sort of high tier 9, tier 10 tanks that you just so often, if you try and play tier 8 or anything like that, you just get thrown into high tier games. It seems to be a pretty regular thing. And then if you try and ever play tier 10 yourself, then you just get thrown into an entirely tier 10 game. So I must say that I've not found the matchmaking to be particularly enjoyable. And they seem to have gone with this sort of, quite often this sort of strict structured matchmaking where there's like 3 top tier, 5 middle tier, and then like 8 bottom tier, something like that. Which I'm not a massive fan of. I don't really kind of like the way that works. Other than that, the actual core mechanics haven't really changed massively since I was last in the game. It seems like since the 1.0 patch update, they've done quite a lot of graphical improvements, and the maps have been updated, which are kind of nice. I do like the way the terrain looks. I like the way the tanks looks. And I think that's all pretty good. You know, they've kind of brought the graphics up to the 2018 standards, and I feel like that is the case, and they're pretty good with that. So that's always a nice thing to have. But a lot of the core mechanics are still issues. You know, artillery, which is probably the most hated vehicle type back in 2016, or through most of World of Tanks' life, is all they've really done is kind of reduced its damage, but now given it a stun effect. So that instead of before where you just took damage, you now take damage and or your crew gets stunned and lose a lot of their abilities. It's not really exactly been much of an improvement. I'm not kind of sure what they were thinking if they thought how that was going to improve people's gameplay for them. So that's kind of still a problem. I also find that the community is still pretty toxic, or, you know, as toxic as it was back in the day. I'm getting some nice shots on this. I found this little Italian medium tank has been out the side. There's two new tech trees since I last played, and now got the Italians and the Polish have both been added in. But from what I've heard, because I've kind of kept up with the World of Tanks news even though I've not been playing it, it kind of seems like they implemented the Polish tech tree, but kind of implemented it in such a way that if you want to actually grind down the tech tree, it's almost impossible without spending free experience, and, you know, with the implication of trying to make you buy free experience for gold. And that is kind of still my overriding feeling with this game, is the sort of, well, yeah, it really is pay to win aspect, or if not pay to win, then certainly heavily pay to advance or pay to achieve aspects are kind of still fairly dominant. And it just kind of seems to be an overriding factor in this, which is kind of really disappointing. Made some shots on that Jackson, but I got spotted. Particularly kind of prevalent, it seems a lot easier for me seeing it now coming back, whereas before I kind of really must have got quite drawn into this sort of cycle of things, because I've obviously got so many premium tanks in my account. It's kind of depressing to think probably how much I've spent over the time but I guess that was part of the game, and they obviously do have to generate money to keep the game going. So, is it worth getting into now as a new player? I think it's kind of a hard question to answer. In many ways, yes. I think the game is fun. I enjoyed the game for what it is, and it can be done in an almost entirely free-to-play aspect, I believe. You know, there are many codes now that if you want to if you're creating an account for the first time, you can get, you know, a good bit of starting gold and a free premium vehicle and stuff like that. And it is possible to unlock premium vehicles on the grind. For example, this Skoda T40 is actually one of the missions. If you do certain criteria and win certain battles in a certain way, you can actually win one of these in some of the missions. But again, they're quite hard to achieve, so the bulk of the people probably aren't going to have time to actually complete the number of missions that are required. So again, this is some of the limitations of it. Get shot on that Italian tank again. Nice, straight through the front. I think I missed him on the second shot. I tried shooting through a little gap, but it doesn't quite work for me. So yes, I think it's worth getting into the game as the free-to-play aspect that it is. But I think if you're going to get into it, you know, you really need to give it a good play, just to using the free-to-play, or just at least using a bonus code to get started. Try it out, see if you like it before you get drawn into sort of wargaming's. You know, you need to purchase premium accounts, you need to purchase this, that and the other, because you genuinely don't, at least at the beginning. And then if you really enjoy it, then I guess ultimately that's up to you. I do think, from what I've seen, that World of Tanks does have declining player numbers now, which is obviously kind of a worry. But I don't think Wargaming's done themselves any favours in this sort of past year or two in some of the decisions they've made for their game. And I think that's kind of, at least the root cause of a good chunk of the problems they've been having. So maybe we'll see them address that, and that could sort of save the player numbers in the future, or maybe not, we don't yet know. Again, to the side of this KV2, I don't think he knew where he was being shot at from. Again, this is one of those premium tanks that's fairly overpowered, but again, you know, obviously if you're a bad player like this guy who just didn't really know what he was doing, then invariably, it doesn't matter how good your tank is, you know, if you get shot in the side, you're still going to die anyway. Fortunately, I got then shot in the back by that little artillery over there. I didn't see him. I got too focused in on these two. I was trying to pull back behind the wreck of the KV-220 so I could hide from the T-34. But anyway, hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what the gameplay is like. Graphically, very good. Content-wise, it is fun to play. But there is definitely sort of that, you feel there's that element of pay to win in the game. I mean, even like that artillery that shot me in the back, that Lef B2, it's a French thing, it's very overpowered. You know, it's a very strong artillery, and then you can only get it by buying it with real life money. So it's kind of one of the limitations of this game. So, in summary, is it worth getting into World of Tanks in 2018? I think, in conclusion, I would say yes, it probably is. I still found it pretty fun to play. I did enjoy my battles that I've had. I think you need to be careful to not get too drawn into some of the very expensive premium tanks that Wargaming are selling. You know, some of the tier rates can be sort of £30, £40, or whatever that is in dollars, about $50, something like that, just for a virtual tank, is a lot, and I think you probably too expensive for what the game is. Is it also worth returning as an existing player if you've already got an account? I'd say yeah, it probably is. Again, you know, I've got a lot of tanks that I've collected over the years when I used to play, a distressing amount of premium tanks as well, some at tier 8, some not. And, you know, I have enjoyed playing the game as it is. But I don't think I'll be getting back into it in the same way as I was back into 2014, 15, 16. I don't think I'll be playing it daily. I just think that every now and then I'll probably hop on and have a few games just for fun. So, hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview of what the game is like in its current state. If this has been useful, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about the game. Do you currently play it, or are you interested in getting back into it? And yeah, subscribe to the channel for lots more random game content, and I shall see you all on the next video.